Good morning, everybody. Hopefully, everyone had a good weekend. I'm feeling exponentially better from the cold aspect. There are other things going on that I am monitoring. I'll let you guys into it eventually if it becomes something that you guys need to know. However, for now, let's just say I'm coping, but health-wise, in terms of the cold, feeling exponentially better. Switching to tea from here on out for a while. Anyhow, today is different in that cat, you were missed. You were missed. You were very much missed. I'm glad you're back. Yeah, yes, please, 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 if you guys are aware of that, keep it to thine self. Please, no social, nothing. Keep whatever you know to thine self, please. Please, okay? However, today is different. Today is very different. Um, well, not very different. It's different. And this whole week will be different because while I enjoyed the Bible study last week, by the way, it was really good. I think we've established something though, and here it is. Um, the ear to hear thing is legit. God knew exactly what he was talking about, and it's a tell about where the church is today. Unfortunately, people in the church, the majority, unfortunately, the majority do not want meat. They love sugar, they love candy, they love milk. They don't want meat. But for those that do want meat, more power to you. More power to you. Today, however, and the rest of this week will be more of an expose, an exposing kind of thing of an underbelly that I see going on. Um, there is a move happening politically that seeks to bring into its fold um, its title of Christianity. And what it's been doing is using the blanket of Christianity and God to bring in some very detrimental, crazy things, not only to politics, but to the church itself. Because I think the devil realizes he can get a whole lot more people's attention politically than he can spiritually. But he can affect the spiritual via the political. He's really good at that. And we're going to talk about one such individual. Um, Many of you may not know this individual, and I really doubt you do, especially if you don't live in places like Texas. But his um I came across his video on TikTok, and it was just kind of, I thought to myself, there's no way he really believes this. But the more I investigate in him, the more I can see why he believes what he believes. So we're gonna have the introduction of the individual first, okay? And his name is James Tallarico. Um, on the surface, you can look at him and you think, oh, clean cut, you know, nothing looking shifty about him. Although I think he looks shifty a lot, personally. So we're going to read a couple of things about him so you get an idea, and then we'll talk about what he actually said. So he is of course, he's a Democrat. That makes all the sense in the world. Um, and uh, he is part of the Texas House of Representatives since 2018, born in 89. So he's, closer in age than most. Um, but 89, he's still 9 years younger than me. Um, so we are going to look at him a little bit, um, because what you're going to see about him is some Very interesting history of his life. Okay. I'm going to go down to this. He was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes during a 5-day stint in ICU in 2018, where he walked 25 miles. In response, he passed a bill which caps price at $25 for insulin. Like I said, a lot of things that he'll throw in that are good on the surface. This is how they get into the good graces of people. On his personal life, he says he is of Christian faith and was raised Presbyterian. If any of you know anything about Presbyterians, and if you are one, what I'm going to say may upset you. It may upset you because Presbyterians are no different than Catholics. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. Presbyterians are not really any much different than a Catholic. The reason I say that is this. It may not be exactly like the Catholic, but you're just as lost as Catholics. Okay, so here's a breakdown of the Presbyterians. Okay, the Presbyterian Church, abbreviated PCUSA, is a mainline Protestant denomination in the country known for its progressive stance on doctrine. Now, pause right there, real quick. Has the Word of God changed at all, and does it progress, or is it pretty cut and dry as is, take it or leave it? Just a question. Is it progressive? Is that what God's calling us to be, is progressive, to go with the times? I used to make this example a lot, and just hear me out real quick. Way back in the day, the world was in one spot and the church was in one spot, and the two never blended. And we used to say, we are not like the world. But it seemed every 10 years, a certain sector of the church seems to they morph. And where the world got more depraved, the church moved into that space and kind of colonized the worldly space and called it godly. So every time the world moved ahead in depravity, the church would move forward from its solemnity to God, and it would just move into that space. And so every time we are behind the culture, and that's what we praise, we're not like the current culture. Okay, so you're not like the current culture, but you are just like the culture the way it was 10 years ago, which was what we used to call depraved. So every time the church moves forward to where the world was, you are taking a spot that you were just recently calling absolutely horrible. Absolutely. You would have never, ever, 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 ever want to be like that, because that's the world. But then the world moved, and then you moved too. And that's exactly what's been happening. The current iteration of the church is no longer godly. It is just not like the current world, and we consider that a flex. You know, there was someone in the Bible that did the exact same thing. Who was it? Who was it? Was it the Pharisee and the tax collector? Yeah. Tax collector said, "Lord, have mercy on me, a sinner." And then it was like, "Thank God I'm not like that guy," you know? Hey, I'm not where the world is. Okay, the world is completely lost, man. But where are you now? Well, we can't go back to the antiquated way the church used to be. Antiquated? You mean set apart? You mean holy? You can't ever go back to that. No, heaven forbid you go back to that. Anyhow, known for its progressive stance on doctrine and its ordaining of women and members of the LGBT community as elders and ministers. The Presbyterian Church USA was established with the 1983 merger of the Presbyterian Church of the United States, whose churches were located in the southern and border states, and the United Presbyterian Church in the United States of America, whose congregations could be found in every state. The church maintains a book of confessions, a collection of historic and contemporary creeds and catechisms, including its own brief statement of faith. It is a member of the World Communion of Reformed Churches. The similarly named Presbyterian Church in America is a separate denomination whose congregations can also trace their history to various schisms and mergers of Presbyterian churches in the United States. Unlike the more conservative Presbyterian Church in America, the Presbyterian Church USA supports the ordination of women and affirms same-sex marriages. It also welcomes practicing gay and lesbian persons to serve in leadership positions as ministers, deacons, elders, and trustees. Now, what I have not heard is the so-called Presbyterians that are not like that speaking out against that particular branch of Presbyterian belief. The reason they don't is because they do believe it. They just don't want to say it out loud. It is no different than any other denomination that has the exact same spousal belief, where you can say same sex is okay, women ordination is okay. It is no different. I will say it here where people may not say it other places. You are not the church. You are something else, but you are not the church. You are something completely antithetical to church, but you are not the church. You are definitely not following God. You're following some entity, but it ain't God. Okay. People may not want to say it. You can't talk about every brother's. No. Stop. Call them what they are. They're not a member of the church. They are not the church. They do not follow God. Stop lying for them. I'm not going to associate myself as a brother or a brethren when you are not following the same person I'm following. How can I call you brother? You are espousing the complete opposite of what God espouses, and you want me to call you? Nah, fam, miss me with that one. Nah. Nip. I'll call you what you are. You're of the house of Satan. And I'll prove it to you here. Because here's Mr. Tellerico. And I want you to listen to it in entirety, and then we'll break it down piece by piece. I couldn't believe it when I heard it. So just listen up.
The Bible doesn't mention abortion or gay marriage, but it goes on and on about forgiving debt, liberating the poor, and healing the sick. Christian nationalists like to say this is a Christian nation. Not only is that historically inaccurate, not only is that theologically blasphemous, but it's also just not true. Look around us. If this was truly a Christian nation, we would forgive student debt. If this was truly a Christian nation, we would guarantee health care to every single person. If this was truly a Christian nation, we would love all of our LGBTQ neighbors. If this was truly a Christian nation, we would make sure every child in this state and in this country was housed, fed, clothed, educated, and insured. If this was truly a Christian nation, we would never make it a Christian nation, because we know the table of fellowship is open to everybody, including our Buddhist, Hindu, Jewish, Muslim, Sikh, and atheist neighbors. Jesus could have started a Christian theocracy, but love would never do that. The closest thing we have to the kingdom of heaven is a multiracial, multicultural democracy where power is truly shared among all people, something that's yet to exist in human history.
We will break it down piece by piece. Oh, there's so much to unpack here. So much to unpack. So much to unpack. You know, I've always been baffled by people like that. And mind you, he's at a church building preaching. Okay? That's what he's at. And this is what they bank on. They bank on emotionality. They bank on this idea of love when it's not love at all. What they want is for everybody to accept everything that they give and call it love. Now, love in their world means accepting um, the person as is and have them remain that way because that's who they are. The last time I checked the word is that who we are is insufficient to the cross. We, who we are naturally, cannot measure up to the kingdom. We can't enter the kingdom as we are. There is no us in the kingdom. That there is only the blood of Christ covering, and there's only us dead going in to attain new life. There is no bringing your stuff and your mess in the kingdom. That's not how this works. I don't know how to I don't know how else to tell you that. That is not love. In fact, I would dare say that is hate. I would venture to say what he is preaching, quote unquote, is complete and absolute hate. I hate it's hate for multiple things. It's hate for self, hate for mankind, and definitely hate for God. You have to hate the Lord in order to say what he just said. You have to. You have to be one of the most hateful persons towards God to espouse what he did. So let's start from the very beginning and see exactly what he says. Now,
The Bible doesn't mention abortion or gay marriage.
so let's break this down real quick. Does the Bible address abortion? Does the Bible address abortion? It does. It addresses abortion by way of murder. You shall not kill. Now, the word kill is not just haphazardly and accidental or defense. We're talking about murder without cause. So, yes, it does mention abortion because abortion is murder. The baby did nothing to humankind. Now, the only space that baby, the only space and the only person that has right to judge that baby is God, not man. Only God, not man. Because we're born into sin, just FYI. So the abortion issue is murder on man's side. The child did nothing. There was no self-defense needed. It is murder. It fully addresses it in almost every portion of the book. Murder is wrong. Murder is against God. You murder children when you commit abortion. I may have to speak this slow for someone like Tellerico because he's a dummy. But he's a useful idiot to the devil. For this reason, a man shall leave a man. You know what? You know what? Let's read it in its fullness, shall we? Let's read it. I want to make sure that you understand that the Bible does indeed address this. Let's go to we'll start at 25. Ephesians 5. Okay. Husbands, love your wives. Weird. Does it say wives love your wives? Does it say husbands love your husbands? Is that what it says? Pretty sure. Husband, male, wives, female. Can we stop with the stupidity for just 5 seconds? I know the devil wants you to work for him, Mr. Tellerico, and you're doing a bang up job. Get it. Do you look, you're working for your dad. Awesome. Good for you. Enjoy hell. Anyway, husbands, love your wife, female, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself. Oh, you wanted to make sure that it's a female? Here's clarification. And gave himself for her, that he might sanctify and cleanse her with the washing of water by the word, that he might present her to himself, a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that she should be holy and without blemish. So husbands ought to love their own wives as their own bodies. He who loves himself loves his wife. For no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, just as the Lord does the church. For we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bones. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. This is the great mystery, but I speak concerning church, Christ and the church. I'm pretty sure, multiple times throughout the whole thing, he spoke of male and female. But these people bank on ignorance and stupidity. People like him bank on the church's stupidity and inability to read the book. Heck, they don't even have a relationship, much less read the book. So they take morons like him, and I'm going to call him all kinds of names because, one, I have no respect for him, and I don't need to have respect for him because, one, he's lying on my Lord. And he's blaspheming against my God. So I don't have any respect for him, nor do I want to have a conversation with him. I don't need to have a conversation with him. I don't want to hear what he has to say. In fact, I'm hearing what he has to say, and I don't like it. I'm going to call him an idiot all day because that's what he is. He works for the father of lies, and he's a clown. But he knows how to deliver his stupidity. He knows exactly how to say it. It's not what he says, it's how he says it. And they know exactly how to say stupid stuff to make people believe it. You have to say it with conviction, and you have to say it very nice and soft and genteel. A lie will be much better taken if you can say it with some sort of a nice little, amazing. If I can just say it really sweet. So let's find out what he says again now.
But it goes on and on about forgiving debt, liberating the poor, and healing the sick.
Really? It goes on and on about forgiving debt? Okay, mister. Whose debt? And in what aspect does he say forgiving debt? Does he speak about forgiving debt to everybody you know, or does he speak about forgiving debt for your brother? Just a real quick question. I mean, I doubt you could answer that question, but it goes on and on about forgiving debt. Now, question 2, does it go on and on about Christ forgiving our debt and hence the reason why we need to die? You seem to want to have people keep their debt, but act as though they're debt-free. I don't know. Okay, it's like you have a promissory note in hand, but you still want to make sure that you have all your debt on record. And you want to identify as your debt. But you want to tell us about forgiving debt. Didn't Christ forgive you your debt? Right. What was the requirement of the forgiving of debt? You had to be under the one who paid it, right? Yeah. In order to have that stamp put on you of the forgiving of debt, you have to enter into an agreement with the person that forgave your debt. You have not done that, because the criteria for entering that agreement is forsaking self, ignoring what you want, not being what you were, becoming something new. That's the criteria for having the look upon you of debt forgiveness. You, on the other hand, wants everybody to identify as their debt while telling me we should be forgiving debt. Because in your mind, the word debt means cash, because that's all you're going for, is for people to sponsor your stupid campaign to be in politics. You have no desire to follow God. You have none. You seem to me to be the kind of guy that's a closet homosexual, to be honest. To me, you seem like the kind of guy that seems like he has a secret that he doesn't want people knowing, which is why you harp on LGBTQ so much. You want the acceptance of them, so when you come out the closet, people can say, oh, well, at least we accept him. You seem gay to me. That's what I'm trying to say to you. You seem queer. Nobody goes out arguing for us accepting something blatantly, directly, multiple times in the book denounced as absolutely deplorable to God, and still want me to think that God loved. No. God loved the world enough to give his son, but he's not going to just give that willy-nilly to everybody without them dying to self first. That's just how it goes. Just because Christ died does not mean now everybody is saved. That's not what it is. But continue. And exactly how exactly do we heal the sick? Oh, don't tell me. Healthcare. Don't take it to God. Heaven forbid you do that. No, healthcare. Because that's all over the Bible. You say abortion's not in there, but healthcare is in the Bible? Where? Where is healthcare in the Bible? Where is everybody having health insurance in the Bible? You want to talk about the Bible not mentioning abortion, but somehow you can harp on the medical side of things with health insurance. That's interesting to me. So you want to be silent where the book is silent, but then talk where the book is also silent. Which is it, buddy? Does the Bible mention health insurance? Anybody can tell me a verse where it says, render unto man every bit of health insurance you can possibly muster? Does anyone know where that verse is? I didn't think anybody could name for me the verse that says get health care.
Christian nationalists like to say this is a Christian nation.
No. And you notice what he did there? You get it? You get how he panders to a certain race and demographic by saying that Christian nationalist? You see how he did that? Real slick, right? I'll give you some help there, buddy. I'm gonna call you Chucky from now on, because you look an awful lot like Chucky. I'm gonna call you Chucky. That's your new name, Chucky. You remember Child's Play, that old horror movie? That's him. All grown up. This is Chucky. I'm calling you Chucky. Your new name. I can't help but do it.
Christian.
Nation.
Not only is that historically
Christian nationalist. This is where they reach out to the emotional side of the people he's trying to pander to, the black people. Listen carefully. When Christians say this is a Christian nation, the predominant religion in the country is Christian. Trust and believe us, we know for a fact that the government does not follow Christian principles. We are 100% aware of that. We are 100% aware that what the government used to do is not what they do now. We are 100% aware that what used to be the going normal thing to do in schools is not what's happening now. but the majority of people outside of government are Christian, hence why we say it's a Christian nation. We did not say it's a Christian government. And if you look at who the real church is, you will see all the things that you say the Bible says we should do, minus the LGBTQ and the nonsense stuff. The church takes care of the orphans. The church takes care of the widow. Yeah, that's what the body is supposed to do. See, the body doesn't do that as though they're the government. They will help people, no doubt. They'll help people who aren't believers, no doubt. But trust me, they don't help people who aren't believers because they want them to stay unbelievers. They show the arm of God in that the caring side of him is there. But the reason that they do it is for them to be introduced to the man himself so that their life changes, not remains the same. See, in your world, though, Chucky, the whole goal of the church is to bring everybody willy-nilly in and be you, do what you want to do. As long as you love yourself, you're golden. I'm pretty sure throughout the same book you say it doesn't mention abortion. It says to die to self, do not be lovers of the world, don't be lovers of yourself. It says it over and over, but yet still you want people to just embrace their self. Odd. For somebody who talks about what the Bible says and doesn't say, you seem to not have a clue what it actually says and doesn't say.
Inaccurate. Not only is that theologically blasphemous.
Theologically blasphemous. Is God a theology? Let's ask that question. Is God a theology? Anybody? Anybody? Is God a theology? So can you blaspheme against a theology? Theologically blasphemous, he says. Now, I agree that the statement that you consider theologically blasphemous is definitely against the Presbyterian theology, 100%. So I can see us blaspheming against theology when it comes to the Presbyterian Church, and we will proudly and happily continue to do so. In fact, I hope that every word uttered out of my mouth today is seen and taken as blasphemous towards the Presbyterian Church. I hope that I do everything in my power to blaspheme against that stupid theology called Presbyterianism. I hope that's what happens. I hope I butt hurt every last one of you, you disgusting people. How dare you take and sully the word of God and call it godly? No, I hope I blaspheme the mess out of your theology because it's trash. It's absolute trash. Your theology is worthless. It's dung. It's not even, I would throw away the shoe that I stepped in it with. Burn it. That's how trash your theology is in Presbyterianism. No better than Catholicism. It's garbage. And the mere fact that you could stand there and spout this crap is absolutely angering to me. Absolutely angering.
But it's also just not true.
It's not true to you because you're viewing this from a political standpoint. And because you're viewing God from a political lens, you're never going to be introduced to God. You are constantly talking about something that God never spoke about. In fact, he said to separate, render to Caesar what is Caesar's, what is God to God. And he was talking about what? One thing and one thing, well, two things, taxes and making sure you abide by the law of the land when it comes to what? keeping yourself out of jail. Along what lines? Along what lines? Harming humankind. Not abiding, sitting there and accepting all the sin that the world pushes. Now, mind you, we are not saying we hate LGBTQ people. We hate LGBTQ. That entire ideology is absolutely worthless trash. And everybody who follows it and thinks it's something good, you're classing yourself in something that will burn in the lake of fire. And if that's where you want to go, have fun. Gasoline drawers wearer, have fun. Have fun. Anybody stopping you from doing that, that's your belief structure. Do it. Nobody's stopping people from running straight through the doors of hell. If that's how you feel about it, go for it. Because at the end of the day, you have to make that decision. Not me, not anyone else, you do. Your problem, however, Mr. Tallarico, is that you are encouraging people to run to hell with gasoline drawers on. That's what you're doing.
Look around us.
Yes, look around us.
If this was truly a Christian nation, we would forgive student debt.
No, we wouldn't. Please tell me, in the book you said that doesn't address abortion, tell me where it says to forgive student debt. In fact, show me where it says to get into debt to begin with. Hey, tell me if God agrees with getting into debt. Tell me. That's my question. Where does it say to get into debt? Nowhere? Huh? If you go into Romans chapter 13, verse 8, owe no one anything except to love one another, for he who loves one another has fulfilled the law. If I willingly put myself into debt, I have just done the opposite of what Romans 13 said, have I not? It didn't say at that verse that if you're owed something, go and get them to forgive your debt. No, it says, owe no man anything. What does that mean? Pay your debt back if you have one. That's your job, to pay the debt back. You don't go looking for someone to forgive it after you've willingly stepped into debt. Ain't that kind of weird that you're speaking completely opposite of what the book actually said? But you are the one that says that the book doesn't mention abortion when it mentions murder, but it does mention a whole lot of stuff you say that it somehow doesn't mention. I find that kind of weird. It must mean that you, one, don't read the book, or you're banking that other people don't. That's kind of interesting. But do continue, please, Chucky.
If this was truly a Christian nation, we would guarantee health care to every single person.
Why? Again, book, chapter, verse. Where does it say that? Remember, I'm simply going on your premise that the book says or doesn't say something. Because in your very opening salvo, you said, does not mention abortion. Jesus doesn't talk about it. The Bible doesn't talk about abortion. You said that, your words. In fact, let's hear it again. We're at second 33. Let's go back to the beginning and hear what you said. Oh, yeah.
The Bible doesn't mention abortion.
Odd. You said the Bible doesn't mention abortion, right? But then continue to mention things the Bible doesn't mention, as though the Bible mentions it in the positive. Again, it's almost as though You trust people to be stupid enough to listen to you and believe you and never go and reference anything you say against the book you're talking about. Now, remember, I said in the beginning, they know how to blend the two. You can't look, you can't just go at people religiously and win their minds. You can't. Let's just be honest. What's in the book is not able to win somebody on the world stage just like that. You have to mix it with something. You have to bring the world into the book, whether people can read it there or not. You have to bring the world into the book so that people can accept the version of the book you give them. In other words, you have to pollute it. You have to pollute it. Which is why you'll hear people say that the Bible condoned slavery. It never did. But if you can say it and show one excerpt of a book or a chapter that mentions the word slave in the context of slaves obey your masters, you'll say, see, it condones slavery. But a brilliant mind, and by brilliant, I mean a mind of an 8-year-old, will go back and read the entirety of where you just quoted and notice that it says what? Not what you said it said. I kind of find that weird. I kind of find that weird. I kind of find that weird. Servants, be obedient to them that are your masters according to the flesh, with fear and trembling and singleness of your heart, as unto Christ. This is speaking to who? The servants or slaves who do what? Follow Christ. Not with eye servants as men pleasers, but as the servants of Christ, doing the will of God from the heart, with good will doing service as to the Lord, not to men, knowing that whatsoever good thing any man doeth, the same shall he receive from the Lord, not man, the Lord, whether he be bond or free. And ye masters, do the same things unto them, forbearing, threatening, knowing that your master also is in heaven, neither is there respect of persons with him. It's so weird that the verse doesn't say, masters, continue to beat and destroy your slaves. It's weird. It doesn't say that. It's so odd that he's addressing both slave and master as followers of Christ and behave in a manner pleasing to him. But then again, with clowns like this guy, he banks on people being just as stupid as he is, and more so that when he says something and says the Bible says, and pulls one verse out of his Chucky behind, people believe it. They just believe it. There's no matter of context. Nah. It sounds good. It reiterates their feeling already. It reinforces their anger, or it reinforces their belief, or it reinforces their way of living. They'll accept it.
If this was truly a Christian nation, we would love all of our LGBTQ neighbors.
No, because you don't know what the word love means. In your world, loving your neighbors means accepting them as is. That is not love. Love will point out to them the error of their way. Love, especially when it comes from God, will tell them that how you are is insufficient. Love will tell them you are living in sin. That's what love would do. Hate would leave them there and say, you're fine the way you are. God will take you just the way you are. Don't worry about it. He's not even holy. He likes associating with y'all people.
If this was truly a Christian nation, we would make sure every child in this state and in this country was housed.
That's the job of parents. If this was really your goal, you would encourage male and female to be married and have kids within the confines of wedlock and to follow God and raise their children in the knowledge and admonition of the Lord. That's what you would do. But no. In fact, you're promoting the very opposite of childbearing. Two men can't make a baby. Two women cannot make a baby. I don't care how many needles you bring into the game, they cannot make a baby together. But you're the one that wants us to accept this. A male and a male playing sword fight does not make a child. Banging two loaves of bread together does not make more bread. Clear enough for you there, Chucky? You are concerned about children while promoting the one thing that does not make children. How stupid can you be? That's not a challenge either, Chucky, to prove to me how stupid you can be. You're already 90% of the way off the stupid cliff already. How moronic do you have to be to tell me that you care about the children and abortion when you're promoting the very thing that can't bring children into the world? They cannot be born by two men and two women. It's not possible. It's impossible. But you care about making sure children got a house. They got a house. Even though that house, you don't care whether or not that house they get molested in, you don't care because it's, not your concern. They have a house. And yes, they can get molested by straight people too, which is why I said you're not telling them about their life being rendered to Christ.
Fed, clothed, educated, and insured.
Last time I checked, I want to read this to you. Therefore, I say to you, do not worry about your life. This is in Matthew chapter 6, verse 25. Do not worry about your life, what you will eat, what you will drink, nor about your body, nor about what you'll put on. It is not life more than food and body more than clothing. Look at the birds of the air, for they neither sow, nor reap, nor gather into barns, yet their heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not more valuable than they? Which of you by worrying can add 1 cubit to his stature? So why do you worry about clothing? Consider the lilies of the fields, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. And yet I say to you that not even Solomon in all his glory was arrayed like one of these. Now, if God so clothes the grass of the field, which is today here and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, will he not much more clothe you, O you of little faith? Is it man's job, or is it your job to submit to the will of God and allow him to do what he does? You see, you won't preach that because you don't believe that. You don't believe that. The reason you don't believe it is because it's not helpful to your goal. Your goal is the destruction of the nuclear family and the introduction of your dad, Satan, into the world via politics under the guise of God. That's what you're doing, which makes you very vile indeed. But then again, looking like Chucky, I can understand why you talk and act the way you do. Nobody in your wheelhouse wants to approach the idea of surrender. You want man to do everything and put it under the guise and household. And not everybody that says, Lord, Lord, is going to enter the kingdom of heaven. But you want to get in there by saying, Lord, Lord, when actually you're not following anything. Why do you call me Lord and don't do what I say? That's also in the book. Why do you call me Lord and don't do what I say? Why are you calling him God if he ain't God? Makes no sense to me.
If this was truly a Christian nation, we would never make it a Christian nation, because we know.
If it was a Christian nation, we would never make it you see how they say stuff to sound smart? But when you really listen to them, they're dumber than a box of rocks in the middle of a muddy pond at the very bottom, infested with maggots. That's how stupid they sound. If this was a Christian nation, we would never make it a Christian nation. What? Bro, are you hearing yourself? If this was a Christian nation, we would never make it a Christian nation. Dummy, it's already a Christian nation. You just said so. If it was a Christian nation, we wouldn't need to make it a Christian nation. It would already be that. Just to say stuff for the sake of saying it, because they know people are not intelligent enough. And this is built that way. They have done their job to make people slow, both in the schools and especially in the church. This is the normal MO for church anymore. Listen carefully and tell me if I'm wrong. Everybody telling you, go to church, go to church, go to church, go to church. Mind you, you're supposed to be the church, but go to it. That's the first mistake. So you go to church. Now, if you go to church, they tell you to do what? Listen to the preacher. Now, suppose the preacher is saying something that's absolutely off the wall, bat crazy. Are you still supposed to listen to him? You know what they'll say? Yes, because he's the preacher. And in some churches, don't even want you opening your book. Especially afterwards. They don't want you questioning the pastor. He got his education from seminary, for after all. What have you done? You haven't gone to seminary. You don't know the book. All you do is read it. What's that going to do for you?
The table of fellowship is open to everybody.
No, it is not. It is open to people of the household of faith. When David quoted the famous Psalms 23, where was David in his view of God? Real quick, where was David in his view of God? Anybody know? What was the very first line? What was his very first line in Psalms 23? Anybody can give it to me? What was the very first line? I want y'all input on this one. What was the very first line in Psalms 23? Anybody know? Because I know y'all have to be the ones that read the book. The Lord is my shepherd, which tells you right off the rip, what is he? I'm sheep. I'm subservient. I'm in his flock already. I'm a member of his ownership. I am not my own. I belong to the shepherd. The Lord is my shepherd. Right off the top, he tells you. I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. Why? Because God is with me. His rod and staff, they comfort me. Many people don't want to admit this about rods and staff. A rod and staff may not just only nudge you A rod and staff will sometimes smack the sheep to the side to keep them where they need to be. And it is a comfort because the smacking is care. The smacking is care. Now let's talk about the table. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Who is the table made for? The sheep. Not for everyone, not for the enemies of Christ. No. The table is prepared for people who are of his shepherding. It is not for everybody. Stop lying to people. It is for people who take him as their shepherd. Don't let me this crap about everybody's welcome to the table. You don't get access to that table without understanding whose table you're at. You don't just come and put your foot up on somebody's random table and say, this is my, I just saw a table. It's for me. It's not for you. Not like that. No. Because you have no respect for the person who put that table there. You're an enemy of that table. And until you reconcile your life with God, you are not welcome at that table. You're not. You're exempt from that table. Excluded, removed, unwelcomed at that table until you do what is required, which is to die to self and follow, become a sheep. You are not welcome at that table. That table was not set for you. So no, it is not for everybody. Philip, get out of here. You know what? I'm done with you, bro. I'm done with you. I ain't dealing with you today. Philip is not welcome at my table because Philip is a blasphemous fool. I will not welcome Philip at my table. This is how it works. People keep wanting to make themselves just as equal as God's people without having any reverence for God. They have zero reverence for God, but they want all of his benefits. They don't care about following, but they want everything he has to offer. They want his name, they want his blessing, they want everything that he has, and they want nothing to do with him. They hate him, but want what he offers. Just like this blundering buffoon here.
Including our Buddhist,
No.
Hindu,
No.
Jewish, Muslim,
No.
Sikh, and
No.
atheist
No.
neighbor.
No. None of the above, none of the above, none of the above. The gate is narrow, very narrow, very narrow. You do not sit at God's table being a Buddhist because you do not believe in God. You don't sit at the table being an atheist because you don't believe in God. You don't be a Sikh sitting at the table because you don't believe he's not your shepherd. This is not a free-for-all flea market. It's not an abandoned house you can just walk in. There is a key. And only one person possesses that key. And he lets you in on one very stringent criteria. You see him as who he is, not the way you want to see him. You surrender everything to him or nothing at all. I'm sick and tired of stupid people getting up in front, especially this is more blasphemous than anything else. He's standing in front of what he considers the cross when he has never even encountered it. These are the kind of people that just make me sick. Anything to get a vote, anything to lie to people, keep them under your subserviency, make them like you, all the while you hate them. You literally despise these people because there's no way you can tell me you love them. There's none. There's no way you can tell me you love them while making sure that you keep them in a position away from God himself. None. You hate them. You have to hate them.
Jesus could have started a Christian theocracy.
No, he couldn't have started a
Love would
Christian
never do that.
theocracy. How could Jesus have started a Christian theocracy? What was Jesus' purpose? He came to die. That there is no way he could have started something without his death. His death was the linchpin. You buffoon. You blasphemous buffoon. Let me fully bring into context what he just said so you can understand why I am railing him and belittling him this way. Listen carefully. People who are an affront to the cross will say stuff like this. In essence, what he's saying is Jesus' death was worthless. For you to take your mind to the point where he could have just simply done something else is a complete affront to why he came. Hence, it proves to me that you are the arbiter of your future in your own mind. You don't care about the cross. You don't care about yourself. You don't care about any of that. In fact, you are spitting on it by the mere thought in your head that he could have done something different. And not only done something different to the opposite tune of dying. Listen to what he says.
The closest thing we have to the kingdom of heaven is a multiracial, multicultural democracy.
Really? The closest thing we have to, we got to hear that one last thing again.
Never do that. The closest thing we have to the kingdom of heaven is a multiracial, multicultural democracy.
The closest thing we have to the kingdom of heaven is something man implements. You see what I mean by what he said before being true? That he has no regard for the cross. In fact, the cross itself to him is an affront to humankind. Wow. The closest thing we got to the kingdom of heaven isn't Jesus, isn't life in Christ. No, it's multiculturalism and democracy. Last time I checked, this was a dictatorship. And I'm completely fine with that being a one head ruler and no one else has a say. It is God and God alone. There is no democracy in the kingdom of heaven. You don't get to vote on anything. You don't get a chance to say, well, I don't like it that way. I'm going to make it something else. This is why he phrased it that way. He phrased it that way in order to let people know that they have a role. They have the choice to decide how the kingdom of heaven goes. Not God, them. Them. The amount of danger in Chucky's statement is astronomical. Astronomical. Off the chain crazy. Off the chain crazy. This week is going to be almost entirely about this kind of stuff. Because I think it's about time we stop shying away and we tackle this thing head on. We have to tackle it head on. If we are not bold now, you're not going to be able to be bold when there's a gun to your head and where there's a threat to your life and they're actually coming at you for your belief. If you're not bold now, you're not going to be bold then. If you don't practice it now, you're not going to be able to do it then. Stop placating to these clowns. Stop trying to buy into their stupidity and stop giving them ground. We have to stand up. At some point in time, we have to stand up. We've allowed it to get this far, but no further. You have to say that. Call it reverting all you want, but if we have to revert back to the cross, then revert. Let it be an offense. Let it stand as an offense. Let them get mad and stay mad. It's time we just be done with this. This is ridiculous. For one, I'm done. I've been done for a while. Y'all know I've been done for a while. But this entire week, if y'all think I've been going for the jugular before, you have not seen it yet. This week is going to be what you might call unhinged, and that's completely fine if that's how people see it. I will be unhinged. I will be. But I'm done. I'm so over this nonsense. I'm done. Whoever has ears to hear, let him hear. If you don't want to hear, stay in your corner. You ain't going to convince me otherwise, and I'm going to keep saying what I got to say. Be angry, be pissed off, hate me all you want, don't care. I don't care about your feelings. I don't give two craps about it. There's no level of uncaring that I could go any further down than I have about your opinion. I don't care. There's nothing left beneath it. I'm at the very bottom. I could not care less. In any case, we will be back tomorrow. This evening, 6:30, Savage Patience will be on. If you have not caught the videos on Too Strong, you are missing some good ones because we're going full bore there too. Go check that out. Make sure you tune in this afternoon at 6:30 Eastern. I'll be back tomorrow because trust me, there's plenty of fodder out there. And the world does not care. The world doesn't care. You'll have a grand rest of the day. Scrolling at the bottom, you know what to do. You know who to take it to. Don't act out of your own volition. You know who to talk to about it. Talk to the author. Talk to God. Take everything to him. If you're not doing that, then you're doing something wrong. Wisdom calls to you from the streets, so please, please, please find wisdom. Peace.
Hold tight the dreams, for if dreams die, rely on yourself and know